going on, guys? We're back with Randy. Randy, what's up, bro?
What is up, bro? Great week one. Like you were saying, they did a great job with the matchup, especially all the divisional games and big time starting off with Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, man. We'll get right into that Thursday night matchup. Chiefs Ravens came down to a toe, basically, man. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. It came down to a toe, but it didn't feel close,
Yeah.
and it was like it felt like every time the Ravens tried to establish something or they got points, the Chiefs just big brothered them and just worthy for a 40-yard touchdown or someone just chunk playing down the field to where like they were just in control the whole game, and man, the Chiefs' ability to develop these corners and just bring in another guy and to just be consistent on the back end is just so impressive.
Yeah.
Along with, I don't know. I know the Chiefs got after Lamar a little bit, but that was just kind of surprising to me. I did not expect him to look so uncomposed where, like, all last year, I was so impressed by his ability to manipulate the pocket, trust his protection, and stay behind the line of scrimmage and look downfield. When he was taking all these hits, I'm like, it feels like we're watching him in 2019, and he won MVP that year, which is great. But that's not a sustainable way to win football games and take care of your body.
Not at all. I think you touched on it. Lamar, man, he just didn't ever look comfortable. He never looked comfortable. I think they got after him early. They went away from Derrick Henry on the first drive. It literally felt like deja vu again with going away from Derrick Henry after you go down the field, have a solid first drive, and then you go away from him. It was like, did you not learn from the AFC Championship game last year to not stray away from the run? Especially when you have a guy like Justice Hill where there's no reason he should only be getting one carry. There's no reason because he's uber talented, and I get you have Derrick Henry, right? But if you're not going to play him on third down and you're not going to use him, he had 13 carries. That's not a recipe to win the game, man, especially against the Chiefs trying to keep Mahomes off the field. You can't be doing all that. I will say, man, I'm a huge likely guy now. Dude,
yeah.
I think we're talking about it. Like the PFF guys was that them?
It was the PFF guys.
Yeah.
They really liked Isaiah Likely coming out of the draft 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It really took him a while to kind of break through the lineup because he's been sitting behind Mark Andrews, but I think he's kind of matured his game to where now he's just a playmaker for them, and with Mark Andrews being able to be a reliable hands guy for them and Likely can step in and fill that role as their number one target potentially, because you got Zay Flowers at receiver, but they didn't look like they knew how to get their guys into space. And that's what I was kind of expecting with this offensive setup. I was expecting a lot of Henry. I was expecting a lot of option play, Lamar to protect himself, which he didn't do. And I was expecting them to be able to get their guys into space. But the team, they just didn't look like they were as prepared as the Chiefs were to utilize the talent they had on the field. The way the Chiefs got Xavier Worthy into space and were able to create lanes in the run game, I know they got trenches on both sides of the ball, but when you have the talent you do and the athleticism that you do on the Ravens offense, I expected more.
Yeah. I'm going back to Likely, man. That move he put on that guy was Lamar in high school. Stop on the dime. That was nasty, man. Yeah. But Zay Flowers, not really. I mean, he had 6 catches for 37 yards, averaging 6.2 yards. That's not him, really. He's more of like that take the top off the defense type of guy. And they honestly used Likely in that role today. Bateman had 2 catches for 53 yards and so averaging about 26.5 per catch. But, man,
We'll see if they can establish an identity on offense, because I think it's a red flag with the way the offensive line looked, but I really want to see if they can establish an identity on offense because they got talent and players to utilize with the speed. What are you trying to show me over there?
I'm showing you. Lamar attempted 41 passes. He had 41 attempts.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
The game, I mean, to be honest, the Chiefs could have put up 40 if they wanted to. I feel like, honestly, they do this thing where they kind of hide all their true identity that they want to have in December until late in the season, and that's why they get into the postseason and they look like a different team. Matt Nagy, the OC of the Chiefs, when he was with the Bears, he would always talk about not peaking too early in the season. And I think that, honestly, the Chiefs looked like the way better team. They looked in control the entire game. I know it came down to a toe, but it never felt like it was slipping away from the Chiefs as soon as they got on the field on offense after the Ravens went down and scored. Yeah. From there on out, the Chiefs looked like they could do whatever they wanted to, and it honestly looked like they just played to win the game and didn't even try to show all their cards.
Yeah, like you said, didn't show all their cards. I mean, when you have a guy who's first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best tight ends of all time, and he's only catching 3 balls.
Exactly.
It's pretty. You're good. You're good. It's pretty. You know that's a good sign for success when you don't need to utilize him as much. You know what I mean?
I think that with his age and the way that he looked early on in the season, and then how he kind of looked like he was getting tired throughout the season, I think they're going to save him till mid to late season and go ahead and try to three-peat. But I think they know what they're doing. They like Blake Bell and some of the other tight ends they got behind him. And I think they're going to try to do this where they're going to try to hide Kelsey until mid-late season and then try to go ahead and show all their cards down the stretch to try to three-peat.
Yeah. It's funny, though, because say Likely is a size 12 instead of a size 14, right? This game goes to OT. The coin toss is anybody's game.
They were going for 2 at the end.
Oh, yeah. Were they?
They were.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
John Harbaugh. He immediately was throwing up the 2 to try to go for 2. So
yeah.
It wasn't going to go to overtime. They didn't want any part of that. Ravens were trying to end it right there.
I totally forgot. That's a great point. I totally forgot that he immediately went for 2. I remember he mentioned it as soon as.
Yep. You go for 2 in that situation.
Yeah.
You don't want to give the Chiefs the ball back.
No.
You saw what the Niners did in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And but say he doesn't get that foot down, which I think he should have. Looking back at the replay, I know it's
safety
like
kind of gave him a little shove where he couldn't get that foot down.
I think if you're a player, like a caliber player like Likely, I expect him to get his foot down there. But he didn't. And you go and you lose this game, but I'm literally 4 inches, 5 inches away from going.
This isn't the Chiefs' best ball, though. I think the Chiefs kind of just played to win the game. They executed their game plan.
Yeah.
They came out with the W, and I think they're saving their best play for late in the season because they know they have way more in store than what they showed. They only used Worthy. They only give him so many touches. They were trying to feed him in the preseason. I think as the season goes on and later in the season, he's just like a big play waiting to happen every single snap.
We can thank the Bills for that one.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Bills. We'll get to
you. Yeah, they got Keon Coleman, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, he had a big catch. We'll get to that.
Yeah, he did.
We'll go over to the Packers-Eagles game in Brazil. I want to touch on the Jordan Love injury real quick before we get started with the game. Thank God. I mean, I know you're a Bears fan, so maybe you're kind of wishing bad.
I got Jaden Reed in fantasy, so I'm winning either way.
Okay. So you're hedging a little bit, but the Jordan Love injury, I'm just so thankful it was not as bad as it looked.
It looked way worse.
Because I'm not even a Packers fan, and my hands were on my head like, no, not like this. Not on the freaking 4 seconds left in the game. He goes down with like a torn ACL. That would have been tragic, but thankfully only MCL. But let's get into the game now. What do you think?
I kind of leaned more into the coaching side of things of what I expected with the Packers, and I'm super impressed by Matt LaFleur every season. I mean, he just overachieves with the talent that he is given on offense, and he really knows how to get his guys into space. He gets plays downfield with receivers like Jaden Reed he's a very talented player with the ball in his hands, but, he's getting these guys wide open, and he's getting players into space. I think that this kid, Emmanuel Wilson, as the season goes on, is going to have a bigger role with the Packers. But, the better team won, and the way that the Eagles were able to get Saquon Barkley going behind that offensive line, there was that one play where he ran downfield, and it looked like he just stiff-armed the safety just because he wanted to shove him into the ground. Dude, he could have cut back to the right down the middle of the field, and it could have been gone. but he just wanted to go hit. He just wanted to go hit somebody,
That's
bro.
that Philly mentality, bro.
Dude, I mean, that was hilarious. That was like Antonio Brown when he kicked the punter in the face.
For no reason, yeah.
Yeah, just for no reason. Saquon Barkley just chose violence, bro. And I mean, I love it. I'm happy to see him back, man. I mean, it's just I didn't think that we would be able to see this after how he looked in New York the past 2 years because he was coming off an ACL injury and then he got an ankle injury last year. And I'm like, man, his legs are starting to get beat up. Is he going to be the same player? You got him with the rushing threat of Hurts, with those receiving options downfield that lighten the box with this offensive line. This dude's going to, I mean, touchdowns. You talk about he had, 3 or 4 in the first game. Could have had more. It's like, I mean, this is just the start of the season for him. I think this is going to be a huge year for him. And, I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that can match up with A.J. Brown one-on-one aside from maybe Sauce Gardner. I don't think there's a lot of corners in the league that have the size and the physicality that he has. And when you got offensive weapons like the Eagles have backed with a defense that was playing pretty well, I mean, tackling in this game, sloppy. Footing was sloppy. Players were slipping.
Yeah, the field was kind of iffy.
It was iffy.
That's just another –
Brazil.
Not another reason to go back to Brazil, man. There's no reason that should ever happen again. To be honest,
and I don't.
That's another time for
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But I think it was funny to see the Eagles try to go with the tush push, and the center QB snap exchange was fumbled. I was kind of a take that I had where I thought that maybe that would be a thing that's not going to be as effective as it was. I mean, you see all these other teams try to run it, and it's not the same. I think Kelsey was a big part of that, so I think that'll be interesting to see going forward. If they're able to do it, I don't think they will be. I don't think it's going to be the same. But, I mean, I'm just impressed by the Eagles' defense overall because, I mean, the Packers are a tough team to prepare for because they're so unpredictable and so multiple with all the versatility of players they have. They can run any type of routes down the field. They can rotate receivers. You cannot prepare for them and have a game plan of stop this guy. So. Yep. I'm impressed with the Eagles able to come out and put up points and score with them and still make plays to end the game.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it, and you said that Saquon was running like a 34-year-old Adrian Peterson.
He was.
Yeah,
last time I saw him, but he didn't look like that this game.
He looked completely rejuvenized in that Philly offense, man, and I think he is just so happy to be in that friggin'
He can
just
tell.
in a winning environment in Philly where like such a passionate fan base and guys that the Eagles are expected to be in that Super Bowl talk this year. And
yeah, they are for sure.
And going from the Giants to that, I think is just a switch in his mind that's like, all right, I'm finally on a contender. I can let loose and just be happy and play ball with because I know I got guys around me that are I'm not going to be the one-man show. You know what I mean? In New York, it was like, all right, give it to Saquon, pray that he breaks off an 80-yard touchdown because we'll get to the Giants.
R.I.P. the Giants.
Good Lord, Giants, man. I feel so bad for Giants fans, but you touched on it, man. The Packers are so well coached, and there's not a guy. I know Jaden Reed had a huge game, right? But the Packers, I feel like they're
so versatile.
They're so versatile, man. They have such weapons.
The receiving depth, the ability to rotate at all skill positions, it makes it impossible to prepare for this team because they can roll out a game plan that you were completely unprepared for because, you want to stop Josh Jacobs. Well, now they're putting out Emmanuel Wilson. Now they're putting on Marshawn Lloyd. Now they're airing the ball out with boots and with just play action, and you're preparing to stop the run, and they're not even running it. And now all of a sudden you got crossers coming behind you with all the speed they got, and they're getting guys downfield, and they're wide open, running after the catch. And it's a constant issue to try to stop this offense specifically because they are so versatile and there's no one player you can key in on. With the coach that they have, it's just a problem.
Yeah, they I remember I had Josh Jacobs bet to score, so I was just keying in on him a lot.
Did he? I don't remember.
He didn't. But
oh man,
the first half,
that Eagles front is tough.
Yeah. The Eagles front looked good in the first half, and then I think same type of thing that happened last year with, like, as the season went on, the Eagles kind of deteriorated. I think that you kind of saw that in the game with, like, the defensive front because I don't know if they were keying in on Josh and that was one of their game plans was to stop the run first and kind of just take that element out of it. But Josh had nothing the first half. He had no rushing lanes, and then second half is when he broke off a few of those runs to finish with the 16 carries, 84 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. If you would have asked me what was Josh Jacobs' stats at the end of the game at the end of the first half, I would have said, all right, 10 carries for 26 yards.
That's how he looked all last year, though. And I'm not too crazy about him. I mean, I think that
He looked good in the second half, though.
He's a good change up from what they have behind him. But I honestly think a guy like Emmanuel Wilson could potentially break out in this backfield because I think he fits that wide zone. And he looks a little bit like Raheem Mostert with the ball in his hands. You know, maybe not as fast because Raheem's different. But, I mean, I just really like the speed, the skill, and the running instincts to make moves and make guys miss, you know, and break angles that their defenders are coming with the pursuit because he has surprising speed. So, I mean, I'm really looking at Emmanuel Wilson as the season goes on because I think he might be their best back.
Okay. I don't hate that. I was impressed with Emmanuel Wilson too. I just think Josh showed a little bit of like, all right, kind of just pound the rock, and then as the game goes on, seems like he got stronger.
He's a wear down the defense type of player.
Yeah.
He's a lot like David Montgomery.
Yes, I was just going to say that's a kind of a good comparison is like David's out there just ramming defensive line to kind of soften up that stuff for Gibbs. So
he's a tough tackle.
Yeah, he is. He's a thick dude.
He is very normal.
Pause. We'll go to what game do you have next?
You want to just go straight into Cardinals Bills, bro? Let you vent a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I already made a freaking TikTok about the last two plays. Yeah, so
I'll let you go off on that, bro. I got notes, but go ahead.
All right. Honestly, this is I look back at our week 1 predictions. I almost predicted this game to a T. I said 34-27 Bills. It finished 34-28.
I didn't see the score prediction.
Well, we talked about it last time.
I like them to cover for sure.
Yeah.
I ended up picking the Cardinals.
Yeah.
It was weird. I think like they just felt like they were happy to be contending with the Bills. It didn't feel like they were out to win the game. Like they had that killer instinct about them. It felt like they were just happy to be in it.
Man, watching this game, Kyler, I mean, I don't think he necessarily played bad. I think the play call in the first half was fine. I thought it was great. They couldn't stop the run. You keep pounding the rock with James Conner. You got guy like Trey Benson had a few carries too. I want him to be utilized more because
get Tim Mercado off the field, bro. I don't know what he's doing.
He did have a big catch. He had a big catch for a first down.
I know, but I mean, like you're just taking touches away from a guy who needs them.
And I think the big, I just don't even know where to start. I'm gonna start with Marvin Harrison Jr. having 3 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards. He had a drop.
You draft him 4th overall.
Yeah, 4th overall.
You don't do that.
You have Greg Dortch leading your receiving room, and most of those yards came on that last drive, trying to dink and dunk down the field. I just don't. We did have a kickoff touchdown, so you got to keep in mind like that's a drive that took away from some of these stats.
Who was it that took it back?
DJ Dallas.
DJ Dallas, yeah, bro. Seahawks legend. Let's go.
Seahawks legend that I was hating on in the offseason, so I'm sorry, DJ. But, yeah, man, it was pretty much exactly what I thought. The Cardinals are going to put up points this year, and that was 28 points against the Bills defense. That's not great, but not terrible. They're kind of like, I think, a little bit below average in terms of the NFL overall. And that was without targeting Marvin Harrison more than 3 times. So I feel like as the season goes on, as that chemistry gets better, it's not as bad as that last drive looked, which you go inside handoff to James Conner in 3rd and 10, and then you throw a jump ball to 5'7" Greg Dortch in double coverage. Not to mention 2 or 3 plays before that, 2nd and 5, Kyler has Marvin Harrison Jr. streaking down the sideline. You've seen the freaking clip.
I have.
He's so open, it's not even funny. It was almost like Kyler was like, nah, I want something harder. I want some like spectacular DeAndre Hopkins type play to end the game.
He was in the end zone looking like Antonio Brown when he left mid-game, bro, except there was just nobody around him.
Yeah, it was yes, literally. It was honestly so embarrassing as a Cardinals fan. I was like, This is just the Cardinals the past few seasons. Of course, Kyler misses our fourth overall pick wide open for a touchdown like that, and we got I think it's Jonah Williams. I don't want to be mistaken on that. Our right tackle went down. As soon as he went down, our backup came in, and it was just constant pressure. He was getting beat every single time, and like I said, man, you're gonna have to score every possession.
When did the tackle go down? What quarter?
I think it was sad.
So was it early on?
Yeah.
Was it like second quarter or something like that? Because Greg Rousseau started eating him up second half.
Yeah, it was second. Don't quote me on that, but second quarter, I'm gonna say, and like you saw in the highlights, man, I feel like Kyler was getting pressured every single play. He had that turnover, that forced fumble.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. And it's with the Cardinals, man. I blame Monty Austin for it partially because during the offseason, during free agency, he didn't prepare for the worst. And you have to have depth in the NFL because it's a long season. Guys are going to get injured. People are going to get banged up. You know what I mean? And you have the Bills here, who are a very beatable team. You go on the road to Buffalo. That's not an easy place to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go in there with 2 of your defensive linemen that we covered that go down in the preseason, and you give them a fight. But like I said, you're not gonna. If you don't score every single drive, you're not gonna win games. And Drew Petzing, what was that last drive? I thought you actually called a pretty decent game the entire game until that last drive, and I don't know if there's a little bias between Kyler and Greg, and if there's a little offseason stuff where like, all right, well, I'm going to get you paid, so I'm going to throw you the ball every single time, and we're going to say fuck off to Marvin Harrison Jr. But that's what it felt like because I sorry, I'm just going on. I cannot even fathom how you don't get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved. I don't even know what to say.
That was kind of like what my X factor was in this game, was because you look at the Bills secondary. I thought Marvin was going to be a huge part of the offense early on because of the investment they've made into him. I can't imagine like drafting a receiver fourth overall. Like, you don't like to draft receivers high in the draft because you can get them in the second, third, fourth, fifth round, you know?
Yep.
But it's like when you do invest so heavily into a receiver and then you just don't get him the ball. Like, you're not going against Sauce Gardner.
No.
You're not going against Jalen Johnson. You're not going against Jalen Ramsey. You're not going against some of these best corners in the league. You're going against like
Rasul Douglas,
Kamir Elam, you know, and Rasul Douglas, and this Bills secondary with the pass rush that's not great, you know, to where it's like you can get the ball downfield. And like you said, throwing the ball up to Greg Dortch, like I get there's like a trust factor with QB to receiver in football. Like I understand that. I know all about it. I understand it. But there's like, how is that not there? You had the whole offseason. I know a lot of people talked about the preseason not getting any reps, but I mean, you had the entire offseason with all these practices, all of training camp, and you don't have any chemistry.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's like, I don't know. I know it's week one. We'll see as they go on. They like to make James Conner the identity, and I get it. You want to be physical and set that tone up front. He's a tackle breaker similar to Josh Jacobs. But, I mean, it's just we'll see as the season goes if they can establish an identity and really have guys like that they lean on in those moments instead of doing this. Because, honestly, it just felt like they were happy to be in it. It didn't feel like they were out to win the game towards the end, you know? That run on third and 10, I get they had 3 timeouts. But I get they had 3 timeouts, and maybe you're going for it on fourth either way, because you're down by 6. You're not kicking a field goal. It's not a situation where we're in field goal range, we're good.
No.
It's you have to pass the ball in a situation, and like I was kind of questioning that OC because like you see certain guys get utilization and production. And it's the NFL. Guys are going to figure some things out. They're not clueless. Mm-hmm. But it's when they get real talent, what do they do with it? And we'll figure out a lot about this OC as the season goes on.
Yeah. We'll go away before I go off on another tangent. What game you got next?
Really quick, just about Josh Allen. I mean, we're going to see a lot of him taking off and taking matters into his own hands when it comes to their offense because, I mean, that's what really was the difference maker. We talked a lot about the Cardinals, but just really quick a hit in the Bills.
Yeah.
Where was Dalton Kincaid? You know, and I mean, I like Dawson Knox, but Dalton Kincaid is a big slot. You can match him up with linebackers, safeties, body guys, and have him be hands underneath to where you're taking some stress off Josh, not making him have to sit in the pocket, make all these moves, wait to extend plays and get guys open, or jump over and dunk on someone on the goal line. You don't want Josh doing that. He can do it.
Yeah.
He's very similar style to Cam Newton, but I mean, it's just you don't want to see that. So as the season goes, they found a way to win, but what is their offensive identity, and are they going to settle in with these options, or is Josh going to have to put on the cape every week?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to put on the cape every week, man. I feel like it was kind of the same story on both sides where it was like, all right, we don't get Marvin involved. They don't get Kincaid involved. It was like the other team thought that they were going to key in on them when I get Marvin was bracketed sometimes. If you watch the film back, he wasn't necessarily one-on-one every time, and they were definitely
a big dude.
Yeah, he was definitely shadowed by the safety some of the time, but
back shoulders.
There's so many. Yeah, exactly.
Throw him a jump ball.
Yeah, dude, he's 6'4". This isn't like a. There's no reason.
It's football. It's football 101. You don't throw up. You throw up jump balls, and you give the 50-50s to your bigger receivers. It's like what the Texans do with Nico Collins. Nico Collins is a physical mismatch for almost every corner in the league. Marvin Harrison is a physical mismatch for almost every corner in the league, except for a guy like maybe Tariq Woolen and like Sauce Gardner.
Yep.
You know, going up against everybody else, he's going to have the size, he's going to have the athleticism, you know, and it's like they just got to figure it out, and we'll see. This OC, there's a lot of red flags and question marks early on, but we'll see as the season goes on.
Yeah, he called a good – I'm only going to use the Kyler – of last season, kind of like those last like 5 games with Kyler last season, as kind of like my gauge for how I liked Petson calling plays. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of hard when you don't have your starting quarterback in there.
Yeah,
of
course.
And he was one of the guys that might be after this year, depending on how the Cardinals perform on offense, as like a head coaching candidate. As like, all right, this guy, the whole freaking NFL is leaning more towards offensive guru head coaches and having more like of an offensive mastermind at the helm of things. And he's kind of in the NFL's mind and the media's mind. If they performed, he was going to be kind of that head coaching candidate. And
he doesn't show anything creativity-wise as to where like that has any like bone, like any bearing any like weight to it. I mean, He hasn't shown anything. I mean, it's just very standard offense, and it's like you got players, but what do you do when you have more talent? Yeah. Where does the knowing who your guys are come in, you know? And it's like we'll see as the season goes on.
What game you got next?
I got the Patriots and Bengals.
Okay.
Man, I should have just picked the Patriots. I wanted to so bad.
You called it.
Yeah, I wanted to so bad. It's just a week 1 game. It's just one of these week 1 games to where the Bengals got T. Higgins out, and Jamar Chase hasn't been there all offseason, and the receiving talent behind the top 2 isn't great, and they got a new running back. They don't have an established identity. When they ran the ball, it looked great. You know, when they were giving Zach Moss's inside carries, like, dude was averaging, I think, like, was it 5 yards a carry, almost, and like he looked really good. And honestly, I wish they gave him the ball more, and if they did, they'd probably win. And I mean, I know they fumbled through the end zone and weird stuff happens. Yeah. So it's like, you know, they ended up losing. But I mean, the Patriots are still an NFL team. They have Christian Gonzalez who can match up with Jamar Chase a little bit. Jamar hasn't been there all season. He's not in football shape. And they had some lucky breaks. And I mean, it's just the one thing I will say is that the Bengals' interior on their defensive line got taken advantage of. And the Patriots want to play this defensive game, and they want to have ball control on offense. And you can do that with Jacoby. I think you can do it with Drake May too. It's probably going to look smoother early on with Jacoby just because Jacoby's more of an experienced veteran. But, I mean, they didn't do anything special on offense. They just ran it with Ramondre. They went inside and attacked those weaknesses. But seeing the lack of pass rush and the difficulty they were having stopping the run when they got a game against Kansas City next week,
dude, they're screwed.
This is going to be really interesting to see because, like, the Bengals do this where they blow it in week 1 And early on in the season, people are like, what is going on? You know, and then they're questioning the coaching and the offensive on the offensive side of the ball specifically. Defense usually figures it out, but is this the same thing, or is this this is what it looks like if they don't keep their two offensive receivers on the field? You know, because hamstring for T, when is he coming back? Is he going to look the same? Is he going to re-injure it? And if you only have Jamar as your real threat on offense, I like Zach Moss, but as your only real, we have to game plan for this guy, this team's going to struggle, man. And their defense is not a defense to where you can lean on them to win you games. This is a defense that needs to complement a high-scoring offense, and if they're not able to put up points, and this is a Week 1 game. Like I said, weird stuff happens in Week 1.
Yeah.
They had a weird offseason, but I do think that the interiors on both sides of the ball for the Bengals looked soft and could be something that could be issues as the season goes on. So, weird game Week 1, but, I mean, the Patriots are an NFL team. NFL teams are talented, and they just were unpredictable because it's a whole new staff. So, I don't expect the Patriots to do this often.
No.
I think this is like a weird Week 1 win where they go and lose the next 11 in a row.
Probably.
But some red flags, though, for the Bengals for sure, and I don't think it's just a fluke.
Yeah, I think the Bengals, their time to win was a few years ago in the Super Bowl, man. I think they kind of, just looking at the future, not just this game, and they're going to lose T. Higgins next offseason, right? They're going to have to pay Jamar.
It looks like it. It looks like that's where it's going.
They're going to have to pay Jamar. Whenever he gets paid, it's going to be an absurd amount of money, right? You're going to have 2 huge contracts on this team. And like you said, man, this defense is not anything special. It would be a completely different story if the Bengals were set on defense and you could be like, okay, well, at least we have a good defense. We can kind of count on them to get the ball back, hold teams. They're not that defense, man. And like if Joe Burrow, he was quote unquote efficient, 21 for 29, 164 yards. That's not damage. That's not damage at all. And I don't think they didn't run the ball at all with Chase Brown. They really heavily leaned on Zach Moss. That was kind of a question going into it. It was like, all right, who's kind of that RB1? I
like Zach a lot. I think Zach's got way more potential if they were to lean into him for him to be the offensive identity. And I think if this team's going to have any kind of success, they have to do it because they don't have the receiving threats like they did over the past couple of years. I mean, they let Tyler Boyd go too, and Tyler Boyd's getting older, but it's that underneath reliable, you know that he can win one-on-one every once in a while and get open for you to where they're lost that sense of security. And now that you don't have that, you have to adjust and create a new offensive identity. And if they don't find that, it's going to be a weird start to the season where you're starting to see questions of, do we fire this coach? Do we need to make different directions on offense in terms of how it's structured, because you got the 2 receivers, but there's a lot of red flags around this team right now.
Yeah, Mike Gesicki had a crazy touchdown catch. They called it back because he didn't catch it. But that's
super athletic.
That's the guy. Like talking about underneath game. That's the guy who can win one-on-one against backers.
Very athletic.
They just got to lean into that more. We'll head over to another game. What do you got next?
The one I have next up is the Panthers and Saints.
Oh God. I'll give you your props. Maybe Andy Dalton should be the starter. Bryce Young looked like shit. You called that.
Did you see that first interception he threw?
What is that, the first pass of the game?
I think it was the first pass of the game.
First pass of the game. As soon as he threw it.
They hit him all preseason.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. As soon as he threw it, I was like, well, all right. Randy's going to toot his own horn on the pod. But
I'm not going to try to, brag about it too much. I just think that it's I'm the same size as Bryce Young of a human being. And I played QB in high school. I wasn't anything crazy. I wasn't as talented as this kid is, but I had a play where I was a sophomore in practice, and I was behind the varsity offensive line, and I had to throw a drag to the slot receiver on the left coming across the middle of the field, and how high I had to reach my arm up to release the ball to throw it over the offensive line. just stuck in my head. And I was like, I need to change positions. I ended up switching to corner, and I liked it more and probably was better at it. I can throw the ball, but I mean, there is a level of speed of the game, tighter windows than you see in college, to where that stuff doesn't fly. When you can't see over the middle of the field, his whole game was talked about as anticipatory throws.
Yep.
Because he has to. Because he can't see it. He cannot see over the offensive line. And this isn't just the Panthers are a bad organization. This is just literally a physical deficiency in his game that it's not even a joke. It's funny, but it's not even a joke. It's literally just like he can't see.
It's funny because you shouldn't be talking about physical deficiencies in the NFL at the highest level, and especially from a number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young literally looks like a child and basically like a JV player on varsity, the way he moves.
When Mitchell Trubisky came into the NFL,
yeah,
all these experts said they propped him up as their number 1 guy coming into the draft. Guys get drafted high in the draft all the time because these experts who quote unquote analyze the game rank them a certain way, and they confuse the thoughts of the ownership and the GMs and make pressures of, well, if we don't take this guy, then what, you know? But it's like you got to just look at what the player actually is. And when you go into the NFL and you can't see over the middle of the field and you're blind firing over there, it is no recipe for success, specifically for a guy who is not a bigger, more gifted athlete like a Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's gifted. Bryce Young, arm. I will give him he's got an arm, but I mean he can make guys miss a little bit, but in terms of physical build is not NFL quality athlete.
If you were just to grade his stats overall, it'd be like just the most mid-athletic stats of all time. It'd be like 70
if I went
speed.
out there, he'd probably be a little bit faster than me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if I would look like this if I went and played in the NFL. Maybe a little worse. But I mean, I would look similar if they threw me in the NFL. I'd probably break my ribs on like the first couple of plays because I don't understand how he even takes hits. Like honestly, like just genuine, like I respect his toughness for hanging in there, but I just don't think that like you can play at that size.
Yeah, and for all the Carolina receivers too, like they have to be like, dude, like I have to, like if you're the Dave Canales, and we talked about it,
Let's
like
see if he hangs in 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
I give him 4 weeks
until Andy comes in.
I give him 4 weeks. This coaching staff didn't. This coaching staff did. This is not their guy. You know,
that's a good point, man.
This is not their guy.
I think that could be a interesting. I just don't know. Number 1,
this defense is going to be giving up points, like we talked about, and I talked about Rashid Shaheed breaking off a pass. What was it? First drive of the game. Shaheed's toasting the defense.
Yep.
You know, and it's
like
like,
that too.
I mean, this Panthers team is very predictable in their deficiencies and the way that they're going to be schemed against, and they're playing the Chargers this week. Wait until you see the Chargers receivers start torching this defense and them gashing them in the ground game, and Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa get their hands on this kid. I mean, dude, it's not a good look. I give him 4 weeks until Andy's in.
Yeah, they're going to toss him around next week. Game script for Saints was just, they got up big. Derek Carr looked like a future Hall of Famer. That was not on my not on my bingo card for week 1. But he played well. I mean, you can't knock the guy. I know it's the Panthers, but he can only beat who's in front of him, and he looked good. So
we talked about their pass rush and their DBs, bro. That's the worst pass defense in the league, probably.
Yeah.
They let so many guys go.
They did.
They had let so many guys go, and they didn't replenish the defense.
And who did Rashid Shaheed burn the first play?
JC, dude.
JC Horn, their best corner. That is just, I was like, who was that? Oh, that was their best corner that just got burnt like that. I was like, oh,
Rashid Shaheed, and he like an undrafted player too.
It's raps, bro. The Panthers are in dismay.
Long season, dude. I mean, I don't even know what you do as them. I mean, I like hating on them because we got their picks, everything as a Bears fan. I mean, I like that. But I mean, it's like,
dude, you can.
I just don't know what they do. I honestly don't know what they do because you have this kid, and I mean, I know the Cardinals did it with Josh Rosen a couple years ago where they drafted Kyler, but I don't I mean, you know college better than I do. Is
Yeah.
there even a QB coming out next year that they could put into the situation? But I don't even think if they do that, it's a good look because this team is so lacking everywhere.
I don't know if there's a quarterback in college that could come into the league next year where you can be like 100% that's the future of this franchise. I don't know.
They're
You
in
have
for a
Carson
long
Beck.
rebuild.
You have Carson Beck, who's talented, but in terms of like that generational,
Does this team go 0-16?
They might. I don't.
Do they fire their coach midseason? Do they fire another coach midseason?
Dude, the Panthers, man. I thought the Cardinals were a poverty franchise. The Panthers are. Oh my gosh.
Them and the Giants, bro.
Yeah. Well, want to hit them next? Who's next on your list?
Next I got Jags Dolphins, but I mean, if we want to scroll down to the Giants, let's go Giants Vikings. Just to wrap up the boo boo games, and then we'll get into the better ones.
Breaking news: Daniel Jones sucks at football.
Sorry for talking you into the Giants pick. My bad, bro.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I was sitting on here, like, I like the Giants pass rush. Just kidding.
I do.
I do.
They started out the game looking good, but it's just those DBs, they can't hang.
Yeah.
Not with Jefferson and Addison.
I think Sam Darnold completed like the first 12, 13 passes
he was
of
16
the game.
of 18.
16 of 18?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Something nuts like that. I can't. I mean, when you have guys around him, Jordan Addison went down with an ankle injury, and they ran an MRI, and he was cleared. So he's not going to be available next week probably, but
really
is going to not miss as much time as I thought because that's never a good look when he's going to the medical tent. They clear him out mid-game. It's never a good sign. But they got the best receiver in the league. Jay Jettis had a touchdown. I honestly don't know how he caught that ball. The corner was draped all over him, but we'll take it. He's on my fantasy team. Aaron Jones looked incredible. He's exactly what the Vikings need to be successful.
It was so funny watching him Lambo leap into the stands.
Dude,
he's been a Packers so long, he forgot like that ain't cool with other teams, bro. He Lambo leaped as a Viking into the Giants, and everyone just looked at him like, dude, get out of here.
What are you doing?
Bro, I thought that was hilarious, bro.
Yeah, that is funny. You know what's even funnier? That Daniel Jones got paid as much as he did and is so bad at football, man. I can't even. If you're the Giants, how? Actually, I want to back up. Malik Neighbors, you're biting your tongue. Go ahead.
Nah, man. I don't even know what this team does.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like this, the Giants and the Panthers, it's like, do you just full rebuild? Because you have some players. I mean, like, the Panthers just brought in all these players in terms of offensive players in the offseason. So it's like, do you just blow it up? With the Giants, it's like, you just drafted Neighbors. You drafted Wandale. You drafted all these linemen. On the defensive side, you just traded for Burns. You drafted Dexter, and it's like all these guys, these young players, and they just can't do anything, and it's like I expected Dable to come out with more of a offensive game plan to get his playmakers the ball in space. I thought that they would be able to do that. Shout out Brian Flores, because, I mean, I don't give this guy enough credit a lot of the time. I think, honestly, I just kind of like to hate on the Vikings a little bit. Brian Flores is legit, dude. Yeah. He's going to be a head coach next year. I mean, doing what he does with the lack of talent on the defensive front, like, he just moves guys around and is so unpredictable and keeps the defense versatile, and offenses don't know where to attack. And it's just, I'm just so impressed by the job that Brian Flores does. And I mean, Kevin O'Connell as well. He's consistent. He's consistently preparing his teams every week. Coaches on both sides of the ball. This team will be solid. I mean, I'll be interested to see how Darnold hangs next week. They play the Niners, so we'll see. They got the Niners last year, though. They got them when they played them. So we'll see this time around. But I was impressed by the coaching of the Vikings. I think I kind of undersold how good they actually were.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the Giants except that they're in the same boat with the Panthers, and they're going to be bad for the next 2 seasons minimum. When you swing and miss on a quarterback like that, and then you double down and you pay him, that is just that's the definition of a poverty franchise and just horrible leadership up top.
Giants and the Panthers are the 2 worst organizations in the league.
Yep.
And it's like,
It's not even close.
It's like by a margin.
Yeah.
Like it's them two and then the rest of the league. I mean, Washington's around there too, but I even think they made their team a little competent to where they should compete a little bit at least. But I mean, just the Giants and Panthers and the way they structure the team and prepare each week, it's not even close. They're the worst two in the league.
What team you got next?
Jags, Dolphins.
Let's hit that.
Almost looked smart picking this game. I almost looked really smart, man. Were they up 17-0 at one point?
Yeah.
I thought I was celebrating, man. I was, bro. I was like, dang, man. And then ETN fumbles through the end zone, and then Tyreek goes 80,
The next play.
and then
I texted
don't
you.
move the ball.
I texted you. You're watching the Bears game, but I was like,
he does it every week, man. Come on.
yeah, that's not.
You texted me
that's
though, right
not
before
exactly.
it.
That's not exactly a hot take. Tyreek Hill scoring a touchdown, but I did text Randy right after it saying Tyreek Hill only takes one catch from Tyreek Hill to completely flip the momentum, and that wasn't to go like up. That was just to bring it back.
That Jags defensive backfield too.
Yeah, I mean, their Asante Samuel that's
the Chargers.
Chargers, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the Jags defensive backfield though when we were saying Tyreek's going to be able to break some off against them, and I mean they were containing him for a while. I mean Waddle almost broke one, and then Tyreek did, and it's just the way the Dolphins get their players in space, man. You did text me right before though.
How about the 50-50 split with Bigsby and Travis Etienne?
I'm not going to lie. I actually have been pretty impressed with Tank Bigsby.
Yep.
I did not see this play from him last year, the juice that he has, the acceleration and the speed. He didn't have this last year, you know. And I do think that they are smart to keep these two rotational and fresh. I think that I was actually liking a lot of the utilization of the skills on offense with the Jaguars this week. Christian Kirk let them down.
And a big drop.
He had like 2, I think,
Yeah.
2 or 3. I mean, that was killer. And then ETN fumbling through the end zone. The Jags really just blew this game, you know.
They had it.
They did. And I think that they were kind of hanging on defense all game, you know. Like, Dolphins were throwing these screens out to the running backs, putting them outside and running tunnel screens with them, you know. And super smart way to get their guys the ball because the receivers behind Waddle and Hill, you don't really want to get them the ball. You want to get the guys the ball that you're more invested in and know are going to be able to take it the distance. And, I mean, I liked the way the Dolphins were using their players. It was just a matter of time, it felt like.
Yeah, they I don't understand the point in the whole thing of like, all right, we get up, we have a good, solid first half. The Dolphins are a good team. You put up 17 in first half, right? You go and you blank out the second half, and it's just like – does the whole creativity of the play calling go away? Do you think you get satisfied with the lead with one of the most
Dolphins defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good Dolphins defense, but you put up 17 in the first half. I don't know if the Dolphins made adjustments at halftime, kind of keyed in on what they were missing.
Jalen Phillips started to get after Trevor in the second half.
Yeah, I feel like he was under pressure like every play in the second half.
The second half, he was under way more pressure, and they had those drops from Kirk, fumbled through the end zone. It's a week 1 game, you know. Stuff happens, but, man, the Jags really did blow this game.
They got to find Brian Thomas Jr. That dude is electric.
He's their number 1 receiver already.
He is electric, and they have to target him because he is a threat to go to the crib every time he has the ball in his hands.
6'3", running a 4.33 with the ball skills that he has. Dude, you got to get him the ball. I think he's already their number 1 guy.
Yeah, he just looks like you can just tell by watching with the eye test, like – he just looks the part, man. He looks like he is
might be the best
down.
rookie receiver already. I mean, Neighbors is nice, but he's not going to get the production that Brian Thomas will be able to. But Brian Thomas looks like the best rookie receiver.
After week 1.
After week 1, he looks like that guy.
After week 1, 100%. I have nothing else to say. We kind of went long on the Cardinals. Let's keep it rolling. What game you got next?
Really quick with the Jags. I want to see them kind of maybe move Kirk out of that role and use Ingram more as the big slot. I think of them kind of using Kirk a lot. I mean, that's their guy in their slot, but you got Ingram, who's just a mismatch if you put him inside. And I think that you put him on safeties, linebackers, he's beating them. Ball skills. He's got a wide catch radius. You just need to get this guy the ball. He had 1 catch in week 1. I think he needs to get the ball more. So hopefully they can do that more going forward. But you want to go Steelers-Falcons next?
Let's hit them. This is a thrilling matchup of great offense. I'm kidding. They sucked.
Talked about the Steelers defense in our team previews, and
Yeah.
they're relying on T.J. Watt to wreck the game, and he did it.
And oh my
he did it, bro. I was winning Defensive Player of the Year after week 1.
How many sacks did he have? Like 18?
2 of them got negated by penalties, I think. I think he had 2 strip sacks that were negated. But, I mean, in terms of just, like, what the Steelers do on defense especially, it was their game plan to a T. T.J. Watt absolutely just wrecks the opposing offensive line, and it's like this is just what they do. I didn't know Justin was going to be starting before I made my picks.
Yep.
If Russell was starting, I don't think the Steelers win this game. With Justin, his connection with George Pickens, and their ability to get him outside the pocket, let him use his legs on 3rd and long, and just being a game manager with athletic ability like he has, I think they might actually be cooking a little bit if TJ Watt's going to continue this.
You got to remember, they didn't score a touchdown. So that's something to
This is what they do.
I mean,
It's
I don't
what they
think
do.
I don't know if it's what I mean, I feel like last year at least they were scoring touchdowns, but I know it's week 1, figuring stuff out. I get it, okay? Touch on Justin Fields for a sec. That throw he had to end the first half to set them up for the field goal to George Pickens, that was a dot, man. That looked like, okay.
When he can lock into his number 1 guy and get him the ball, he's accurate.
Yeah.
It's about when he has to go to 2, to 3,
Make
and
those
they
progressions,
lock.
yeah.
When he has to make those progressions, that's his thing. But when you got a guy like George Pickens, though,
I'm telling you, man, he would be if George Pickens, you know who I'm not going to say Garrett Wilson's not that guy because I think he is, but just imagine how tunnel visioned Rodgers is. Imagine what he could do with a guy like George Pickens, with his talent, his ball skills, man.
Catch radius, he's got it all, man.
He's a freak. I don't know. They hit so hard on that pick, man. That freaking the video of him,
receiver too.
the video of him with the ski mask on when he got picked.
So funny.
That's George Pickens through and through, and that's exactly the type of guy he is and what the Steelers are, man. But
yeah,
T.J. Watt, there's really nothing else you can say except that dude is a man amongst boys when it comes to just getting after the quarterback, making dudes look silly on the O-line.
Guys his size don't usually play on the edge. They usually play inside. They bulk up a little bit, play inside. The explosion and size and strength he has off the edge is just dominant, dude. It's just he's on. Like, I mean, I don't understand how you got Micah Parsons, you got Myles Garrett, but T.J. Watt, dude, like the way he just wrecks games consistently. Year in, year out. It's just I don't know who else compares to that. Yeah. Consistently
is the key word.
He does it every season.
Yep, every year you can count on 10 plus from him, and it's not even a question.
I think he had about 20 last year.
Yeah. But flip over to the Falcons side, man. They got Bijan on the ball, but he wasn't overly efficient. Kirk struggled way more than I thought. I thought this was gonna be a freaking pick him apart type of game where it was like, all right, Kirk is gonna get time in the pocket more than he did, and just kind of carve up this Steelers defense. That was just not the case. Drake London had 2 catches for 15 yards. Kyle Pitts saved his day with the touchdown, but only had 3 catches for 26 yards. Ray McLeod led the team in receiving with 52 yards on 4 catches. It's just not what anyone was thinking when they were talking about the Falcons in the offseason.
These guys, you got to get on crossing routes, run after catch, get Drake London one-on-one, give him a 50-50 ball. You know, like, this is what you got. Kyle Pitts, you get him one-on-one, he wins. I listen to I like listening to PFF because they got these little numbers then they throw in, and they talked about the Falcons game, and they talked about how I think they didn't run a single play action the entire game, and I don't think they went under center either. Like, every play, they're from gun, and TJ Watt's like, okay, boom, just blows by the tackle.
Yep.
McGarry's not a mad tackle, but you cannot do that against this pass rush. I mean, the other guys are okay. Like what I said, I like Alex Highsmith. I like Cam Hayward. they're not winning if you actually have an offensive game plan like that. But when you sit back and just drop back and pass, shotgun run, and you don't try to at least keep the defense off balance and you just let them tee off, dude, you're getting eaten alive.
Yeah, you become one-dimensional.
You're eaten alive.
You make everything predictable for the defense, and like you said, once guys know what's going to happen, these are elite athletes, man. They can execute, especially when you got one of the best pass rushers in the NFL and T.J. Watt going after your quarterback, and that's not what you want. Guy coming off an Achilles, 37 years old. He is not the guy you want just getting manhandled by T.J. Watt.
Yeah, as soon as anybody was getting a hand on Kirk, he was going down.
Yeah.
He was preservation mode. He wasn't looking to break sacks. So,
No.
yeah, I mean, we'll see as the Falcons go on if they figure out their identity. I like the way Algier ran the ball. I think Bijan, they got to get him the ball in space. They got to split him out wide. They got to get him screens outside like the Dolphins do with their backs. They got to get their guys the ball in the where there's run after catch opportunities. They have to do that, and they cannot just sit back and pass and pick teams apart.
Totally agree. Move on to what team you got next?
I got Titans Bears next, bro.
All you, brother. Talk your team.
I mean, kind of went how I expected. I mean, it's like I didn't think the offense would be as bad. I mean, I didn't think they would be that bad. They were very bad. I mean, I think that DeAndre Swift showed that he can play and that he needs to be more. He needs to get the ball more. I think Keenan Allen honestly kind of impressed me with his ability to get open underneath, and I think that it was just a matter of time. Kind of like I know the drop on the goal line. I know he dropped that one, but I think that I was impressed by Keenan Allen's ability to be used in this offense, and I think he's going to be a go-to guy for Caleb, specifically early in the season. We'll see if Rome's healthy coming off this MRI he's got today. I hope that he is, because they need 3. They can't just go 2, because I don't think they can consistently run the ball with this backfield. I'm worried about that if they have to run the ball, because the Caleb needs to be able to get the ball out to his guys and make plays. But, I mean, this defense, the Bears are who we thought they were, bro. They got a defensive touchdown. They got a special teams touchdown. It was only a matter of time before the turnovers started happening. They were hitting Will Levis all game long, dude. He had the heating pack on his back on the sideline after Tremaine smoked him, dude. I didn't like the way that Levis plays, because he doesn't protect himself. And against a defense that plays fast and physical like this, you cannot do that.
No.
So, I mean, I think I was just waiting. I thought it was a matter of time before we started seeing some turnovers. The Bears won the turnover margin. They had 4 turnovers, only turned it over once. Why do they keep putting Velus Jones back to return kicks? I don't know if you know about this, but I've watched him now muff, I think, 5 or 6 kicks in his first 2 years and 1 game. I've watched him. He can't track the ball.
He was playing footy out there.
He cannot. He doesn't have the ability to track the ball. And it's like, he's explosive with the ball in his hands. I just need to say this.
Yeah.
They throw him the ball deep down the field when they're playing Dallas 2 years ago. And the way he just alligator armed the ball, it's like right then and there was his ball skills. He doesn't have the ability to track the ball. You got to take that guy. Offense, running back, hand it off to him. Don't put him back there, because that almost cost them the game today, yesterday, I should say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Titans-wise, Pollard was who I thought he was. Yeah. I think Pollard looked great. I think they have maybe the best defensive tackle duo in the league. Their secondary, they're not a joke. They got players, and
Tyler Stevenson, touchdown.
Well, see, I was talking about the Bears. On the Bears side, I'm talking about on the Titans side. The Bears, they got a secondary. They're not a joke. They're not a slouch. I think their defense is a little underrated. Like I said, I think there's the best defensive tackle duo in the league. They literally had Ryan Bates, the Bears' right guard, backwards somersaulting into Caleb in the pocket, dude. As a rookie QB, you never want to see interior pressure like he saw in this Week 1 game. He hung in there. He didn't turn the ball over, which is great. Took a really far back sack, 19 yards, missed some throws. We're going to see how fast he can mature his game, because he's got a test Week 2 where he's going to have to score. He can't just rely on the defense in Week 2. So it's just, I was very impressed by the defense. I thought that, like I was saying, I thought the Bears would just make more plays. They did. They won the game. Good. It was a very tough test week 1 with a team that's very unpredictable, like the Titans, with all the new coaching and different players added this offseason. But Caleb's gonna need to grow up really fast in terms of just letting his guys make the plays for him and throwing catchable passes, not trying to lead the touchdown to where his guy can run after the catch. That will come with time, with chemistry. You need to just give him opportunities. Let him make the plays for you.
Yeah, Caleb, he had that one rolling right kind of just throws it. He's extremely talented. That's not a question at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's about, like you said, doing too much. And, there's a few times, like on that huge sack, you can't be doing that, man. You can't be trying to extend plays. You have to know when.
He thought he was still at USC.
Yeah, he thought he was playing against Pac-12 defenses still.
Yep.
This is the NFL, fella.
Yeah.
You can't be
He'll
dancing.
learn.
He will learn, and that's part of being a rookie. I don't care how highly touted you are coming out of the draft. You are gonna have to make mistakes to learn from them, and that's actually gonna be the thing is. Will you learn from them? Will you be freaking Deshaun Watson? We'll get to where you can't seem to figure it out. But yeah, the Bears, I think they'll be fine. They have a good defense. Caleb.
Defense might be elite. Darrell Taylor, that dude had a game. Like, he had that strip sack. I think he had another sack as well. That rookie tackle that the Titans had, J.C. Latham, he gave him the business. Like, Darrell Taylor was coming off the edge with speed rush, and J.C. couldn't catch him. And, I think that it's really interesting to see this Bears defense with the secondary and the linebackers they have. If they can have some pass rushers outside of Sweat like a Darrell Taylor. Austin Booker didn't even really touch the field much. It's like I saw Dexter have some plays as well to where Andrew Billings was also balling out. This whole defense was playing fast and executing. If they could get pass rush outside of Sweat, I'm interested to see what their record ends up as the end of the season because I think Eberflus has built this thing how he wanted to. So, offense, they got to mature, but they're going to keep getting these opportunities as the defense forces turnovers and gives them more possessions.
Mm-hmm. We'll go to, Raiders Chargers next?
We got Texans Colts we got to hit on. Texans Colts. Yeah. That was maybe game of the week.
I think so.
Maybe game of the week. Aside of the Chiefs-Ravens ending, but, this game was sick, though. Plays all over the place.
Yeah.
These teams are ready to go.
Yeah. This Texans team, man, if they can scheme like they did today, those guys open, it is going to be tough to stop them. When you have guys like Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and you have their unquestioned number one receiver is Nico Collins after
Dude's
this
dominant.
game. He is, we touch on it. You throw the ball up to that guy, it's his ball. It's his ball to lose because
so physical.
He's such
like
a
AJ Brown.
freak. Yeah, he's such a freak defense. Like, you can't match up with him defensively. And he had 6 catches for 117 yards, man. But the catch that he had on the sideline, are you kidding me?
What about the one where he's got 2 guys on him down the field?
Just mossed them both. It's like, dude, oh my gosh, dude. He was a fine.
Just a bully.
Yeah, and what's his 4th year? First 2 years. That's why you can't really ever count anyone out because they just have this rejuvenation mid-career at 4 years in where you're like, all right, this guy's our wide receiver 1 on a very good Texans team.
He had a good season last year, but I didn't like. I came into last year not realizing how big the dude was. I didn't know he was built the way he was, and I saw him in the preseasons like trucking DBs, and I realized that I may have overlooked a player. And then when C.J. Stroud got with them and they put up the numbers they did last year, and then he's just carrying it over. That dude's dominant. Dude, I don't want to see Stephon Diggs doing that end zone celebration on the Bears, but I think he's going to get 1 or 2, man. That is so crazy. He's the 2, man.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't want to see that.
Bro.
But hey, we got no choice, right?
Everyone was hitting that celly. Everyone was hitting that celly, bro.
It was sick, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He's one of those players that I hate. I hate when he's on the opposing team, and I wish he was on mine. Stephon, Jair Alexander, a couple other guys, man. Just like you wish they were on your team, but you hate going against them. Stephon's one of those guys, man.
Yeah, Joe Mixon. We gotta wrap this up real quick. Joe Mixon, 30 carries, 159 yards, and a touchdown. That was shocking to me that Joe Mixon had that many carries. We kind of talked about it. I thought personally that he was kind of at the latter end, and that was not the case at all. But
yeah, I with Joe Mixon, I mean, that's what I kind of thought they had to do if they were going to come away with the win in this game, because the Colts have the advantage at QB and that X factor that is Anthony Richardson. But I mean, they knew what they needed to do coming into this game. They came out with a win, but Anthony Richardson and dude, the threat that offense is on every play with the players they got that can get down the field, that are just I don't know if we've seen an athlete like this at QB. I know we've seen Cam Newton. I know we've seen Josh Allen. I know we've seen other guys as well. But, I mean, this type of athlete at QB with the size, speed, arm talent, and explosion that he has in his game, dude, I mean, this Colts team is scary with their athleticism and the offensive threats they have on offense and on defense, the athletic ability they have on the front, and then the DBs. Dude, this team is loaded in terms of athletic ability.
I want to touch on A.D. Mitchell because he had 1 catch for 2 yards. Okay, that's obviously
Richardson
not good.
missed him.
He missed him twice,
Yeah.
And that stat line could have easily been over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns if they get that.
Dude, this team is so
chemistry
talented.
right. They're scary, man. I know they lost this game. It's a good Texans team, but this Colts team is scary, man. But yeah,
it's just that they were just going blow for blow all game, and dude, that's falling back 65-yard through the air sling that he had was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't mind that at all. Yeah, we can do that.
You could do your college thing. Like, what day do you want to do that usually? Do you want to do it on Mondays? Probably, right?
I was gonna say Mondays. I don't mind doing it on Tuesday. It's just kind of like it's a lot of freaking games to remember and like have like talking points about, you know. So
I go on my notes app and I go in there and it helps me a ton to do that. It's a lot of shit though. Like, dude, I literally sat on the couch for like 2 hours this morning when I woke up and just like went through every game, make sure I got like all the points I wanted to talk about and everything.
yeah, that's the same thing I do with the college football stuff. Is like
Yeah, you got a lot more games with that though.
Mm.
It's way more covered.
We're rolling, so I just wanted to get a little
It's
time
already
stamp.
set.
Yeah, we're good. We can just get talking. I'll start it again.
All right, give me 1 second.
What game were we at?
We were at we just finished Texans Colts, and then we can go to Raiders Chargers.
All right. 3, 2. We're back. Let's get to the Chargers and Raiders now, man. What are you thinking?
I mean, it was exactly what we talked about in the preview. You know, the Raiders, they had to protect the ball, and they didn't do that, and the Chargers capitalized. And it's two teams that want to play the same style of ball, but, I mean, Gardner trying to throw it outside, second guesses, loses the ball, you know. And then the tip ball interception, Zamir White fumbling, and then Chargers, J.K. Dobbins, bro. I mean,
We were both wrong.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I didn't think he would look like his old self after all the ligament injuries that he had throughout his career over the past 3 to 4 years. You know, but I mean, Greg Roman likes his guys, and he knows how to get them into space and how to get the inside run game going, and he really what's up, Loki?
Loki's getting some water.
Thirsty dog. Just like JK, thirsty for touches.
Thirsty for touches.
JK was thirsty for touches, had a 100-yard game, man, touchdown, almost 2. Doesn't have the top end speed to take the distance, but I mean, this team just wants to be physical, both of them, and you really just saw the Raiders kind of beat themselves.
Yeah, this Chargers team is just going to pound the rock every single week, and they're not going to stop. I think I was actually very impressed by Lab McConkey. He had that touchdown where he made those 2 dudes
Lad
miss.
looks smooth.
His route running, man, is going to be a problem, and I think it's kind of complements this run game perfectly because when you get a good route runner like that who can get good separation for Herbert, the play action is just that much more lethal when you have a guy's running routes full speed and you have McConkey just breaking people off like that, and then after the catch, man, he just looks special. Quentin Johnston looks like the usual self, that a bust. I don't think he has the ball skills to be a true number 1 or number 2 receiver. I think he's got all the physical traits, but in terms of just ball skills, I don't think he has it. I want to see more Josh Palmer, though. He's proven last year that he can handle like a bigger role. And JK was eating. He averaged 13.5 yards a carry, which is just absurd. And he kind of just established him because Dobbins actually had 1 less carry than Gus Edwards, 11-10. But obviously Dobbs had 135 yards and Edwards had 26. So 13.5 yards a carry to 2.4 is the difference.
I don't expect them to just roll with Dobbins because he had this game, though. I think this is, like, throughout the entire season, this is just going to be a 2-back, potentially 3-back with Vidal. And I'm interested to see, like, how they develop the offense and start to utilize McConkey more, like you said, because if you can really establish that ground game with that offensive line advantage they're going to have over most teams, you're going to have play action, and then you're going to have longer developing routes where McConkey's able to use that quickness and that route running to get downfield. So we'll see what kind of pass production they can cook up with those two, with McConkey and, I mean, Quentin Johnston. You just got to get him on the run and get the ball in his hands. I mean, in terms of straight up receiving skills, he doesn't have it. But I mean, if you could get the ball in his hands, he does have some athletic ability to make plays. But I mean, the Raiders, it's just going to be tough watching all season because, I mean, every week you're going into games knowing that you probably have the disadvantage at QB. And not only on top of that, they're probably going to turn the ball over 1 to 2 times every game. So, I mean, with those things, it's going to be tough for them to win games and to stay competitive if they keep turning it over the way they do, and I think they will.
Yeah, man. You go with that game, Raiders Chargers?
Yeah. You want to go Broncos
Seahawks?
Yeah, Broncos Seahawks, man. Oh, that game was frustrating to watch. I mean,
why? Because you had a
dude, that was like my blowout of the week, what I thought. Yeah. And I mean, it looked great. It looked great, except the Seahawks decided to give up 2 safeties. And I know great game plan by Sean Payton to pin them back with field position. Sean had them schemed up for the upset. But, I mean, dude, the Seahawks, like, just getting blown up on the offensive line. I know they had the injury with George Fant going out after already missing Abraham Lucas, I believe, the right tackle. So they were already down some players on the O-line. But, I mean, just they couldn't get anything going early on in the game with the ground. And it's just the Broncos were trying to pull off the upset, but the Seahawks weren't capitalizing on opportunities they had with dropping interceptions. And I didn't really see much of DK Metcalf. You know, I mean, you expect him to be able to dominate every week like an A.J. Brown does. But, I mean, this week was tough because it is Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to get him the ball somehow one way or another, run after catch, get him some looks. But, I mean, it's not establishing the ground game early on really made it tough for the passing game to build off of something. Later on, though, your bald-headed Kenneth Walker, man. Bro,
yeah, Frank Gore Jr. Out. Yeah.
You said Frank Gore Jr.?
Yeah. That's dude, he's a freaking angry runner, man. I'm a huge Kenny guy. Had him last year in fantasy. Loved him. I was like, run it back. Mike McDonald said he's gonna have an even bigger role. He did. Zach Charbonnet had 8 carries. 6 of those came on the final 2 drives, just killing clock. So a 20-2 carry discrepancy between Walker and Charbonnet. Charbonnet did have that receiving touchdown, which is that was just a good play call. It wasn't really a knock on Kenny there. It was just kind of Charbonnet got open, scored. Good for him. I actually have Charbonnet stashed as my handcuff in our league together because Kenny does tend to miss some games throughout the year, just banged up, just because that's just his play style. Is he just runs hard every play. But I like both these backs. I was actually pretty impressed with the Broncos defense. I know they let up 26 points, but like I feel like the final score doesn't really tell the story of how the game actually went. I think the Broncos actually have a pretty decent defense. I just think if they get into the chasing game with Bo Nix, it's all about game script with them. If they can somehow just put together long, solid drives on offense with Bo Nix and having him do his check down king type of stuff with Sean Payton's offense, I think this defense can actually complement that well. But when you go down the hole early, I think, and you're playing catch up with this Seahawks defense, like in the 3rd and 4th quarter, that's just not Bo Nix's game. You know what I mean? Like they scored that one late rushing touchdown with them, but you don't want Bo Nix throwing the ball 42 times. You know what I mean? Like that's not a recipe for success. They have to have more production out of Javonte and Jaleel McLaughlin, but they both had 27 and 23 yards. So
I'll be interested to see this Broncos team when they do play weaker teams, because the Seahawks, I do really like their defense. The front 7 is a Ravens-style build. Love the secondary. And the way that Mike McDonald's coming over from the Ravens DC role, I really do think that he is establishing a defense there. But I'm interested to see the Broncos when they match up with other teams as the season goes on. Are they able to play that style? Does the defense show up more? Or was this just a week 1 fluky kind of
work the kinks out type of
weren't prepared? Like both teams weren't really prepared, but the better coach team was more prepared.
Yeah, man. I'm good with that game. Let's head over to what we got, Commanders Bucs.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that one?
I think people disrespect Baker. I know I like the receivers, but I mean, I think people do kind of disrespect Baker after seeing like him fall off a little bit after he had the shoulder injury with the Browns. I mean, people I think overlook like how good he was in his first 2 seasons with the Browns, and then he got banged up and he got bounced around. They didn't want to pay him, so they let him go. And I think him coming to the Buccaneers, I think is really a good situation for him. But also, too, I think he gives his guys a chance to make plays. And I think he does have some of that attitude to him, like we kind of talked about. What was the other quarterback that you mentioned that has – you were talking about Aaron Rodgers in our preview of this following week, how they have to have that arrogance to them. I think Baker has that, you know. And I really do think that he has athletic ability. And he's just – the way he just gives his guys ability to make plays. And they were establishing a run game as well this game. I mean – Rashad White was getting it done on the ground, and then also, too, your guy, Bucky Irving.
My boy, Bucky Irving. I was talking about him in the preview, man. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm a huge Bucky guy. I've been for the longest time. When they drafted him, I thought, like we talked about in the preview, he was the perfect complement to Rashad White. And he impressed, man. It's 9 carries, 62 yards, averaging almost 7 yards a carry. And he just looks like he has that different gear to him. You know what I mean? Like, you can just tell a little bit of Gibbs in him, but I think he's a little bit more twitchy when Gibbs is more like – I think Gibbs is agile, but I think Bucky has that little, like, kind of like twitch. I don't know how to describe it.
Gibbs gets like more north and south. Bucky has that like shake.
Lateral.
It's a shake to him. It's similar to like what Theo Riddick was for the Lions.
Yeah. I remember you were talking about that comparison.
Yeah,
that's a really good comparison.
I think he reminds me a lot of like what Theo Riddick was. And I mean, in terms of receiving game, I think Bucky is going to be a good player, especially routes out of the backfield. I'm really interested to see how they pair these two as the season goes and kind of rotate them, because I mean Bucky started getting in when they were up big in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
So do they kind of like what they see and start to rotate them more and really keep defenses off balance and keep the backs fresh? Because at Rachaad White, they kind of just slammed him into a wall all year last year, and it's like, I don't think they want to do that again.
And he's not that efficient when he does run the ball. Like, even
this game?
I mean, he had 15 carries, 31 yards, so he averaged 2 yards a carry.
50, wow, really?
Yeah,
he looked. I thought I saw him getting more than that when I was watching.
You must have saw like one good run.
I must have been getting their numbers mixed up then when I was watching the game. It must have been Bucky ripping it off then.
Yeah, Bucky right there.
Let's see.
But like the receiving game, you're looking at Rachaad White. He had 75 yards.
I was getting them mixed up. They both have a very similar look to them on the field.
Yeah, Rachaad White had 75 yards on 6 catches through the air, which is like, that's ridiculous. Like receiving production, you know what I mean? PPR monster. You're talking about fantasy terms, but I think if in terms of how they're going to use both these guys, Rachaad White is a proven receiving threat. I would actually like to see Bucky Irving getting more work on the early downs and kind of saving Rachaad White to get out of the backfield and catch the ball. But I do think Bucky is also good at receiving. I just think this might be a Trey Benson, James Conner type of situation where they might start phasing Rachaad White out. Maybe not this year, but the following year, the year after that, Bucky Irving might just slowly take over this backfield over the next 2 or 3 years because I think he has it in him. I think he has that 3-down play style to him.
I think with the size and the build, he's going to be a complimentary back, like in my opinion, for his career. But I don't want to make it too much about him. But I do like the player, and I do think through the preseason and even in week 1, he's starting to establish himself and really build up some confidence in the ground game, even though he's not a bigger back, you know. So I think like I'm interested to see their utilization going forward. But I mean, this is a great deal to start it out hot, and I know it's against the Commanders. You know, we kind of talked a lot about the Bucs, and this Commanders team, like we talked about, they just kind of loaded it up the team in hopes to make it stable enough to be competitive in games so they don't break Jaden, you know. And we talked about how this was going to be very reliant on Jaden's legs and his maturity in his game. Now, I was actually kind of impressed by him. I thought that he protected himself really well. I thought he protected the ball. I thought that he slid. You know, I saw him sliding, diving a little bit, but protecting himself in a way that he wasn't doing before. So I think he kind of realizes the mission this season. I think he kind of looks at the team and understands that there's going to be games where they're down and they're just playing from behind and they want to go chase score. But when they're playing better teams that are established on defense and have been able to win games, it's going to be tough for them to come out and just air it out because they don't have the weapons to be able to put up and score with some teams. So, in terms of a good start to his career, I actually was impressed by Jaden. I thought the Washington played the game however they could. He kind of missed a throw or two to Terry McLaurin down the field, which, it's a rookie. He's going to miss throws. But
don't just say that because Caleb missed two. I don't want to hear
Hey, bro. A lot of it's week 1. We'll see as the season goes on if he's able to hit some more of those because they're going to need that. They're going to need a lot of Terry in that offense if they're going to have anything going. But, one thing I do want to kind of hit on really quick is that Dan Quinn, we talk about how he was DC at Dallas and, how he had a certain style where he would disguise players, be versatile, move guys around. He moved Micah to edge, and he's trying to do it with Jamin Davis. And we look at him as this defensive guy that's able to scheme up defenses to play a certain brand of football. But his last head coaching stop, the defense was not good.
No.
And I wonder if that's going to just be the case with him as a DC, or a head coach. So I'm going to keep following that, how their defense looks throughout the season and see if they're able to kind of get their feet under them or if this is just a thing where Dan Quinn gets a head coaching job and he kind of loses some of that defensive edge that gets him the job in the first place. So I'm going to kind of be following that with the Commanders as the season goes on. But I think in terms of the offense, they did what they could. Bucs are just a better team. And that defense, for them to be able to protect the ball and protect themselves, I think was a success in this game, even though the score wasn't what they wanted.
Yeah, Jaden's rushing upside is really what's gonna be able to carry them through some games, because at any moment a play could break down for them with some guys, and Jaden is just a natural athlete where he can just break the pocket and get a first down, scramble for a first down. Yeah, he was sliding more. He did take some shots still, which you're kind of like, all right, Jaden, like you have 17 games, let's lock in.
He's a tighten his helmet.
Yeah, he does.
Tighten his helmet.
I know. I don't know what that was. My dad pointed that out too. He's like,
his chin strap was loose. Yeah. I mean, some players do it because it's like, oh, I'm more comfortable. But I mean, the one actually cost him a touchdown, you know, because his helmet came off and the balls. I didn't even know that the ball was stopped at the spot when the player's helmet comes off. Because you see the whole clip of Jason Witten against the Eagles, where his helmet got ripped off and he kept running down the field and scored. And it's like, I didn't know that was even a rule, that like he was down where the helmet came off. So, I mean, that's an interesting nugget that I took from that game. But in terms of Jaden, though, he needs to just kind of like just play QB, do his thing, and survive the season and see if they can build around him going forward. Yeah,
he's just got to get that kind of just pocket poise down, because he's his big MO coming out of LSU was like he can hit the big one. Like at any moment he can take the top off the defense. He's got the arm talent to do it too. He's not like, this isn't like a Bryce Young situation where you're worried about his athleticism. Jaden Daniels is just shitting on him any chance we get. Yeah. By the way, Bryce Young sucks. But anyways, back to Jaden. He has all the attributes that Bryce Young doesn't. He's got he's got all the freaking talent in the world, and I would like to see him like kind of link up with Terry more, because Terry is uber talented. You saw him checking the ball down a lot to like Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler a bunch, but like, I don't know, man. I think he's a little bit tentative still, and that's going to come with just playing more games. He's going to get more comfortable. And, I mean, Todd Bowles' defenses are always going to be good. It wasn't the most ideal week one matchup to get your feet wet in the NFL, but I was impressed with him too. I'm not going to be worried about Jaden Daniels going forward after this week at least.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got a good matchup next week with playing the Giants, so we'll see if he can start cooking in that game. But yeah, I was kind of impressed with the maturity in his game and to play in the tentativeness. I felt like this kind of week against the Todd Bowles defense, the Bucs team that's veteran, you know, I felt like he needed to do that to protect himself, because they were going to come after him.
Yep. Want to head over to the Cowboys game?
Yep.
Cowboys, man. Let's start on the Browns side of things, and let me just go on a little Deshaun Watson tangent. This guy, I saw something on TikTok today. I was dying laughing. It was, is Deshaun Watson a better person than a football player now?
Damn.
And
he had the worst game of his career. I think I saw some metrics of that.
Well, he hasn't been Deshaun Watson since he got to Cleveland. I don't care. I don't care what. I would actually love to see a game. I'm sure there's one game in there where he played like, I don't know, Washington or something.
He played good versus the Ravens last year and then got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun is he's just like a shell of himself nowadays, and it's sad to see. I will say I was keyword was a Deshaun Watson fan at Clemson, and actually at the Texans too. He was a huge part of why I started getting into like football really, because I was like, I love him. I love Will Fuller.
Hopkins was there.
I mean, that was a fun offense to watch.
It was very fun, yeah.
He gets traded, and you think, oh, the Browns are contenders right away. You get Deshaun Watson, a top 5 quarterback at that time, and you pay him top 5 money, and he goes to Cleveland, and he's just stinking the place up since. You have guys around him too. I don't understand why we're not spreading the ball around to like Amari Cooper, because Amari showed last year, you throw him the ball, he's going to make plays. Joe Flacco was his quarterback, and he was making play after play after play. He had that 270-yard game last year with Joe Flacco.
Yes.
So, I don't know, man. The Browns are just off the rails. The defense, though, is what keeps them back on track. You know what I mean? So
this whole season, they're going to be, if they can't keep their opponents to 20 points or less, they're going to have a tough time winning games. If there's going to be there's like a score. If they can't keep their opponents to 20, 21 points or less, it's like they're losing, you know?
Yep.
And I think the reason why we saw Joe Flacco execute the offense a little better was because he could be a little more on time. I think Joe Flacco is a guy who relies on execution, being on time, and getting the ball to where it's supposed to be within the play. And I think a guy like Deshaun Watson, what made him special was his play extension, his athletic ability, the special outside of the structure, you know. And when I'm watching him, it's like he's lost some of his athletic ability. You see him trying to run, and he can't get away from guys how he was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like there was a play where he got outside the pocket and tried to run towards the sideline, and that linebacker for the Cowboys, Overshown.
Yeah.
Devontae Overshown or whatever it's Devon
like
Overshown.
Yeah.
That dude just closed on him and sacked him, bro, on like third down, dude, in the third quarter, I think it was. And it's just like he doesn't have that speed to be the extender right now, you know, and I think he's just kind of lost without that.
He's lost without those massages, man.
Yeah. He's trying to be a new man, but he don't know nothing else, bro.
Yeah, he has no idea what it's like to not get a massage and play good. So
yeah, there was no happy ending in this game.
Zero happy endings for any Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah, there was no happy ending in this game, and the Cowboys, they really made it hard on him, though. I mean, I think they got after him really well. I think the Browns got after Dak at points in time as well. Both teams have great pass rushes, but I think the difference is that the Cowboys had a plan of attack for their top guys to get them the ball. And, I mean, they were getting the ball in CeeDee's hands on jet sweeps, down the field, slants, jump balls on the sideline, hitch routes. They were getting him the ball everywhere. And I think that just shows like a level of preparedness and a plan of attack that I don't think the Browns had. And I think it's going to be interesting going forward to see if the team starts kind of wanting Jameis Winston to start.
I was just going to say, man.
I think we're going to see by like around mid-season like potential to move in a different direction at QB. I think it might be sooner rather than later. And I think that there was a clip I saw of Deshaun going to help up one of his offensive linemen. Did you see it?
It was
too?
Joe Patino, I think.
Yeah, and they smacked his hand away. And
he's like, dude, we don't want you here. Like
that's
come on, man.
Yeah, that's a problem. You know, like if your offensive linemen are looking at you like that, it's gonna be tough to hold down the team for a long period of time. And I mean, Jameis is charismatic.
Bro, Jameis is the answer. I'm telling you.
No.
I'm telling you. Jameis gives this Browns football team a better chance to win than Deshaun does, and you cannot change my mind right now. Jameis is going to throw.
Jameis has got some effort in him, you know.
Yes, that's what they need.
I like that, but I think people are kind of underrating like Joe Flacco's execution and veteran presence that he brought to the QB position. That I think that it's Joe Flacco, yeah, whatever. But I mean, Joe Flacco was also putting up yards and numbers with the Jets at his last stop. So it's like, it's not like this dude's just like a bum, you know, like he's won a Super Bowl. He's a veteran. I think that a guy like Jameis Winston could be like make some splash plays and could give his guys more opportunity to make plays. But I don't like the weapons on offense all that much. I like Amari. I think Njoku's talented. I think Judy is a good maybe 2, should be a 3 in a good offense. But
I don't like Judy.
I don't like Judy all that much either. And I think that this style of ball they're trying to like implement isn't Cleveland. You know, I think they need Nick Chubb, and I think that this is kind of going to be interesting to see if this team starts to turn on Deshaun and if they have to go to Jameis, who I think they kind of like a little more in the locker room.
You took the words right out of my mouth with that Jameis Winston comment. I think he should start next week. I think if you're
next week. Ooh.
I'm telling you, whatever say we want about Jameis, you have to use the comparison here with Deshaun. Who would you rather have? I know what Jameis
Team
is going to
probably
give me.
wants Jameis, but I mean, I don't know how much better Jameis is going to be.
Here's the thing, though. With this Browns team, they have the defense where if Jameis does put the ball in harm's way and that he does turn it over, which he's going to, that's just what the game is. They have the defense to stifle an offense and kill a drive, either hold them to a field goal or make them punt, and then he gets the ball back and maybe he throws a pick the first drive, but then he throws a 70-yard touchdown to Amari Cooper, and you're up 7-3. You know what I mean? But
there is that he brings an upside to the offense 100%. That Deshaun is not right now.
I think
and it's always the desire of the unknown too, because I think Deshaun's becoming more of a known at this point, that he's kind of just not the same dude.
Yeah, he's washed.
And I think that people are kind of liking the unknown of Winston. And I think his charisma with the locker room and the reporters and everything is going to start to turn guys more towards him. And I think there's already some red flags that the team may not want to play for Deshaun.
Yeah.
So you got paid, and it's just not a good look. But flipping to the Cowboys, though, I mean, the defense really surprised me. I didn't think they'd come out as hot as they did. I thought it might take a few weeks for Zimmer's new game plan with these guys to take over. But, I mean, they just picked up right where they left off. I didn't think that was the case. I think that something that caught me off guard was Zeke.
Yeah, hurdle first play.
Zeke looked like he's back, and it's like, I mean, Zeke being back is not Zeke 2016 being back, but Zeke being back is like an effective player that it brings a identity to the run game. I mean, there was like blitz pickups that he was like linebacker full sprinting, and dude just stonewalls him, and it's like, what other backs in the league are doing that right now? I don't think that there's much of a reason to kind of question that after. I mean, well, you can question it because it's week 1, but I think that it's going to be interesting to see if this is a week in, week out thing that we're seeing now, where he's actually back and he's bringing element to the run game. But
Zeke's back, baby?
Yeah, Zeke's back, man.
No, he's not back. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you this.
I think he's back, bro.
I think this Dallas, man, I was watching the first half. It was a tale of two halves for the Cowboys offense, at least. Because they came out. They looked good, man. Dak was firing. They had that touchdown. Zeke had a touchdown. Brandon Cooks had that touchdown. And then from there, it was just like they got content. And I don't know what it is with NFL teams, man. They go up, and all of a sudden, the second half comes around. We talked about it earlier, and they don't feel that urgency to score. And then all of a sudden, obviously, it's the Browns and Deshaun Watson. But say you're playing the Packers, and you're up big against them, you don't want that little comeback from Jordan Love or from another high-level offense creeping back into the game like that, because once your offense stops that momentum and that good mojo going, it's hard to kind of mid-game pick that back up and be like, all right, let's go again. You know what I mean? Because when your offense goes cold, it's kind of like a sinking feeling for both sides of the ball, because your offense feels discouraged because they can't move the ball, and then and then your defense is on the field more, and it's just not a good mix, man. So I would like to see the Cowboys continue that first half moving the ball consistently and not get content with the lead. Put freaking 60 on teams like this. You have the offense to do it. You have the playmakers to do it. So go ahead and do it. Like you have CeeDee Lamb, which he's the hottest guy in the freaking league right now. Pause. But like you said, they know how to get him the ball, man. Pause. This Browns defense is no joke, especially like their secondary is no joke too. What are you looking at me like that for? You're still geeking about. I don't think CeeDee Lamb's hot, y'all. Let's just get that out of the way. But
anyway,
creative getting CeeDee the ball.
The Cowboys look prepared. Like the Browns were sending blitzes. They had the guys to get the ball out to off the blitz. They looked prepared to handle the pressure. They looked prepared to get their guys the ball. They knew what they wanted to do coming into the game. This is a team that's been playing together for a couple of years now with the same coach. They've won 12 games, 3 years in a row now?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that's all in, might you say?
Yes.
All in.
All in.
Also, too, noted, kicker is sweet. This kicker, Brent Aubrey,
Notre
he might
Dame
be
soccer
him.
player.
He might be him.
He is him. I'm telling you, he's him. Former soccer player from Notre Dame. Goes out there, nails a 66-yarder, lines up at 71-yarder. And they say, psych, bro, let him kick it. I don't understand. They didn't have anyone back. Line the dude up and have him kick it, bro. He can get it there. That 66-yarder was good from 70. So you might as well let him. Anywho, let's move on to the Rams-Lions game.
Should I start with the Rams or the Lions?
Whatever your heart desires. Go ahead.
I mean, I was raging during this Lions game, dude.
Share why.
My notes just, what the fuck? Did they want drama? Did they even scout the Rams? And were they even prepared for this game? Because, I mean, like,
wow.
You look at this game, that overtime drive is how the entire game should have looked. Like, the identity of the offense, we talked about it in the team preview. It's Montgomery in this power run game. Like, the best offensive line in the league versus a bunch of young, inexperienced, new fitting together guys on the defensive line of the Rams. And they just traded away their linebacker, Ernest Jones. They built the team through the secondary on defense. And the Lions just want to drop back and try to use their flashy weapons. And I'm like, did they not scout the Rams? Like, they have a clear and obvious advantage in the trenches and with a power run game. And they go, well, we drafted Gibbs and Jameson Williams, and they got all this speed. Let's just be the Chiefs. And it's like, no. You're Dan Campbell. You bite kneecaps.
I was just going to say
you run the ball. You have the best offensive line in the league. And that offensive drive, the one offensive drive that it took in overtime, is how the entire game should have looked. And the fact that they didn't come out and do that out the gate, I'm like, what did they do? Did they just think that they would just walk all over this Rams team? Like, this is Sean McVay. You're not going to do that. And, like, the Rams offense was obnoxious. They just spammed the whole stack receiver set and quick in-break, out-break, whatever coverage they wanted to exploit. The Lions came out just blitzing overly heavy and just thinking that they would just come out and establish like a 20-point lead and just walk away with the game. And it's just, the coaching for the Lions was just, they were getting owned the entire game. And then in overtime, they're like, oh, yeah, this is how we like to play football. And just bulldozed down the field and ran right in. And it's like it wasn't even contested, you know?
Yeah.
That was frustrating to watch. It was just bad football.
Well, also, what was the actual reason? The Monty.
I mean, I had a bet on it because it's their identity. But I mean, I talked about it in the team preview. Montgomery is the engine to this offense. There's a reason why they just blew down the field on that overtime drive. Did they even pass the ball once?
I didn't.
I don't think they even passed the ball once. And they just smoked them down the field. And it should have looked like that all game. They put a fullback in the field.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 6-7 yards a carry.
It was more than that. He was ripping runs and then got stopped on one or two. And then, dude, he was just chunking them.
Yeah. I feel like
he should have gotten 25 carries that game.
Here's the thing with the Lions. I feel like they have some pressure to get Gibbs more involved.
That's nonsense though. You win the game. You play to win the game. You don't play to win off of investment.
Yeah, and I think it does have something to do with it because
it did 100%, and that's why I was so mad.
You want to trade drives with Gibbs and Monty when you can really just against this inexperienced Rams front that we were talking about before this. You have a bunch of rookies in there, and you have Kobe Turner, he's good, and you have Durant, who's also good, but you also you know that they just lost the best player in the past decade. So how about you go after in week 1 while they're still trying to figure shit out with schemes and how they're going to stop the run. You punch them in the face with, you said, the best offensive line in football. And David Montgomery, who was such an angry runner, he looks like he's pissed off at the world.
He's their identity.
Yeah.
He's their offensive identity.
And then maybe in the second half, or as you start seeing them bite more, that's when you can open it up with the play action. That was their whole MO last year. Yeah, you're looking at
that's how Amon-Ra eats is off play action, the in breakers.
Those big long drag routes that are long setting up because you have
he has time to get open down the field.
You have a good route runner in Amon-Ra. But I will say, I was high on J-Mo coming into this.
He's killer off the play action too.
Talk about taking the top off of defense, man. He's absolutely electric with the ball in his hands. You just have to get the ball in his hands. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have once or twice a game, you set up the run game with Dave Montgomery, with Jahmyr Gibbs. You hit Amon-Ra on those deep crosser routes. But then once in a while, you have that, and you send Amon-Ra on a clear out, and you send J-Mo over the top like they did, because he, at any moment, can break the game for them. And that's what the Lions, I think, were missing last year. They had him last year. He struggled with drops. They had Josh Reynolds, which is more of a big-body receiver. But they didn't really have that guy that Xavier Worthy, that Rashee Rice, that guy who can just, at any moment, just take the top off. And I'm a huge J-Mo guy. Partly is because I was high on him, and he actually had a good game. So
Wait, let's get this clear. You drafted him in fantasy.
He's on my bench. Puka went down, and now I have to play him. So I'm extra high on him right now. But totally unbiased. Totally unbiased, too. He looks electric. And the man, he was so happy to get a game ball after the game. I got to show you the interview after this. But man,
I watched it.
You did? Okay, yeah.
Good for him.
He's such a...
He had a great game. But
a great game.
When you don't...
I'm just high on him right now. All right?
He's a player that you don't make the focal point of your offense.
100%.
You let him be an accent that is an elite accent with his speed.
Yep.
But it's like they were dropping back, just trying to challenge this Rams secondary with the two receivers. They have Laporta, but they don't have receiving beyond that. And they kept smashing Gibbs against the wall over and over and over again. But Montgomery tires down a defense because he's a tackle breaker. How many tackles was he breaking on some of those runs in overtime? There was a couple runs where he broke like 2, 3, 4 tackles on a single run. And it's like defenses hate that stuff because now they're trying to make sure they contain that, and then Jamison Williams comes on the crosser behind him, or the safety looks a little bit too much in the backfield, and now Williams is gone.
Boom.
But it's all starts with the ground, though.
Yeah.
But hitting on the Rams a little bit, that offense is just obnoxious, bro. I mean, when Puka went down, it's all Cup. He had 14 receptions, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they just over and over and over and over again did the exact same thing. They looked like the Patriots in the early 2010s when Brady would get the ball to Welker, and he had 100-something catches in a season, and he's not that talented, but he's just getting fed. All they do is they stack the receivers. They motion a guy to figure out what coverage they're in, and then based off of what coverage they're in, they either sit in the zone or they run some rub route to get one of their guys open. And they just did it all day long. Aaron Glenn, Lions DC, keep an eye on him because they loaded up this defense now with all these pieces, but they haven't had a good defense the entire time he's been there. So I'm like, he didn't have any answers. He came out overly aggressive when he didn't need to be. And it's like, let's keep an eye on this Lions defense as the season goes on. And do we see them get outmatched in terms of scheme on defense? And if that's an issue and the Lions aren't leaning into their identity, they're not going to hit their ceiling as a team. So, I mean, we picked them in terms of team talent and with the play calling to be the best team in the league. But week one, there's some red flags, and we need to see them get back to who they are and prove that by adding talent, they're actually going to do something with it on the defensive side of the ball. Because, I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was getting after Stafford at times, but that Rams line, all those guys went down, and Stafford was picking them apart. And it's like, keep an eye on this. It was Sean McVay, and there was Cooper Kupp and Stafford, veterans. This is what they do. But I'm going to keep an eye on that as the season goes on.
Yeah, this Lions team especially added a bunch to their secondary, and I will say their secondary looked a lot better.
They did look a lot better.
They looked a lot more like a bunch of guys that are willing to hit people and tackle. I was impressed with Terron Arnold a lot. I think he's a guy who's going to hit people
He got challenged a lot this game.
He did, and that's what you need early in the season is to come out and play against an offense with a bunch of motion like this. You're going to have to think. This is not going to be an easy game. And I'm going to go to bat for the Lions defense here for a sec. I will say, before I start, they need another guy besides Aiden Hutchinson to win. Because Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know if he's a one-trick pony. Maybe I'm just watching the wrong tape or the wrong film on him. But he has one move, and it's that freaking tornado spin move that he sets up a guy outside and then spins back with both his hands like a freaking like he's T-posing in Fortnite back into the quarterback, and it works every single time, which is the weird part. Seriously, I'm being dead.
He's T-posing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Randy
he's got
just
speed.
T-posed.
He's got speed off the edge.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's his counter off of it. And I mean, I was listening to the broadcast, and these young guys on the Rams were talking about how Aaron Donald mentored them, and they said, all you need is 3 moves.
Yeah,
and to be great at them. So maybe Hutchinson's doing that. I mean, he's got speed,
and it does work every time. I'm just saying, if I'm the tackle, and I even sense him coming back inside, I would be ready to fight the freaking tornado and know that is coming.
Tornado.
Because every single time I saw him win this game, maybe he does. He's so quick and has such good bend off the edge, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
That
get around that corner.
Yeah, he can get around the corner for sure, and that's what makes him elite as a pass rusher. Is he can do that. But I don't know. I would like to see some tackles be like, all right, you're going to bend and try to just out athletic, like be more of an athlete on the outside than me, or you're going to try to set me up inside. And man, like every time I watched it, but I digress. I'm going to get to Stafford, man. He threw the ball almost 50 times. That is not
same old plays over and over and over again with different guys.
Yeah, I mean, the Puka injury is a big loss because he's a lot. He epitomizes what Sean McVay wants in his receivers, big dudes that are willing to block downfield for the run game. You know what I mean? And Cooper Kupp obviously can do that. He's proven that. But outside of that, their next guy up is former Bucs receiver Tyler Johnson. And yeah, he had that big break-off
That was just
catch.
horrible tackling.
Yeah, that
bro.
was just bad.
Horrible tackling.
That wasn't
It's week 1 tackling. It's what it is.
That was more Lions bad
happen.
tackling
Yeah,
than
later
Tyler
in the season.
Johnson. You know? But he's their second receiver now. And I'm interested to see if people pick up, be like, all right, if Tyler Johnson and Demarcus Robinson want to beat us, we'll live at that. But I know for damn sure Cooper Kupp is not beating me. So if I'm a DC, next week, I don't know who the Rams play. We'll have to look at it.
Play the Cardinals.
Oh, I should probably know that. Fake fan over here. But fake.
I checked it out earlier this morning.
But
had to get my bets ready.
Well, shit. That kind of Rams. I don't know who's really going to cover Cooper Kupp on the Cardinals, but maybe the week after that. We see some more.
Ain't nobody
DCs.
gonna cover him, bro. He's got McVay. McVay is gonna scheme his guy up. These players on the Rams offense, they play with their brain.
Yeah.
They're not out there just running routes. They ID what coverage it is, and they just know where to go to beat it. It's just rinse, repeat, and they just got to execute. And when they don't execute, they punt.
Yep.
But when they execute, they stay on the field for these 12, 13-play drives that are just obnoxious to watch. And they do it on – it's nice when they have Nakua because they can do it on both sides. But, I mean, it's going to be tough for them with these offensive line injuries because they weren't really able to run the ball this game.
Yeah.
You know, so, and if they're not able to run the ball going forward, we'll see what this offense looks like. Kupp's going to get his touches, but, I mean, we'll see what the point output is if they have guys to put the ball in the end zone because you have to have playmakers. It's like with the Steelers. They don't got guys to put the ball in the end zone. They're going to be moving the ball a little bit because they got some scheme and players, but it's about special players that are able to score, and it's Kupp and a bunch of guys in McVay. And Stafford.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But going forward, I'm happy to not be watching that game anymore because that was just pissing me off, man. That was pissing me off.
Yeah, as a freaking Cardinals fan too, it's just like the Rams are so methodical in what they do. Like
so annoying, bro.
It's so like your 12, 13 play drives. You're just like, dude, this is not even like
It's
exciting.
what Brady used to do in the early 2010s. He would just nickel and dime defenses all game long.
Yep.
And then they would get tired, and then they would run a fake screen and get behind the defense. And it's obnoxious. I don't like watching it.
But Lions won, so we'll move on. Jets-Niners tonight. We just got done watching.
Rodgers looked old. I'm just kidding.
Rodgers.
Nah, man, it's just that Niners team, dude. Efficient. Jordan Mason picked up right where McCaffrey left off. Holes. That Jets defense now, it's like they struggled to stop the run down the second half of last year, and is showing up in week 1, and it's like that secondary is great. Linebackers, love them. If they can't be stout up front and stop teams from gashing them, I mean, they play the Titans next week. We'll get to it in the previews of week 2, but I think that could be a closer game than people expect it to be because of some of the ways that the Jets are playing ball right now, because that co-OC thing, hey, the Jets got a new wide receiver 1, baby.
Hey, his name is Alan Lazard. He would not be on any other roster in the NFL besides the Jets, and he had 2 touchdowns tonight to go along with.
It's Aaron Rodgers' boy.
6 receptions for 89 yards. He caught the same amount of balls as Garrett Wilson, so you can safely say now that Alan Lazard is better than Garrett Wilson.
You better pray you have a good waiver in fantasy, bro. You won't be able to
up.
get him.
You got to pick him up. You better hope you lost this week. Jokes aside, what the fuck is Alan Lazard doing getting 6 catches a game?
It's his boy.
No,
it's that
I don't
want
to hear
that game.
I don't want to hear it. I don't understand. I can't even comprehend.
I do. I watched him for years, bro. I know exactly what this is.
Dude, I cannot.
I love it.
Every time he scored, every time he caught a ball, especially when he scored, I looked at you, looked at me, and we're like, is this actually happening right now? Of course, we're memeing him the entire game, and he scores again at the last drive of the game, just the cherry on top. But
Aaron Rodgers had to have him there, bro. He had to have him.
I can't.
I mean, it's like in all reality, what he actually does is Rodgers can look at him before the snap and give him a look, and he knows to run a certain route or where to be, and Rodgers can throw it, and he'll be there. That's it. Rodgers wants to play his chemistry ball and his co-OC mentality. Where was the run game? They smashed Brees into a brick wall all game long. Where was Braylon Allen? He didn't have a single touch until the last drive of the game when they put in Tyrod Taylor.
He had 1 carry.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's just this is what I was concerned with coming into this game, is that Rodgers is going to want to play his chemistry ball and think that he can outsmart an entire organization that he's going against. He's got this ego about him to where he thinks that he can just, I'm going to screen because, I mean, early on in the game, the first drive, I was like, okay, yeah, they should screen because they're not able to run the ball and they need to get this defense tired out. But then the Niners took over with their time of possession. So now you're having to do something else, and you needed to be able to respond in a similar way. But they wanted to play their style of ball that Rodgers wants to play, and they didn't run the ball and didn't establish a physical tone on offense. We're going to see this. If it's able to change, I don't think it will. It's Nathaniel Hackett. It's Rodgers. You're going to see a lack of identity on offense all season, and you're hoping that the defensive line jumps off sides, and you're hoping that you can throw these back shoulders, and you're hoping that he can look to Lazard, and Lazard can score twice every week, but that ain't
don't count him out, bro. He's a dog.
That ain't going to happen. It's just this co-OC thing that he's got that I talked about, that I worried about, and it showed up, and it's like, you look at this offensive line they got, you look at this running back rotation that they could have, like, this is a sick identity that I think any team in the league would love to have, and they're going to neglect it, because Rodgers wants to play a style of ball. We'll see. They could change, but I'm betting against that with the OC and the QB and his ego. So, hey, he's got his guys, so I hope he's happy, but we'll see how they fare against a Titans team that's a little unpredictable in week 2, and if they can hang a little better on defense in terms of stopping the run, because they struggled all day.
The whole talk was this Jets O-line is completely revamped. You told me before. I'm interested to see what this Jets O-line looks like with all these new guys.
The tackles specifically.
The tackles look great. They added guys just almost at every position. I think is revamped, and they ran into a brick wall, and that is the Niners D-line. That dude Collins, was it Malik Collins with their D tackle? Was
the Jets?
No, on the Niners. I think it was Malik. It was Collins. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it might have been. It might be Malik Collins.
Yeah, Malik Collins, 99. That dude was disrupting everything up front for them. And then you have Nick Bosa, you have Fred Warner supermaning to tackle people coming downhill. That dude is an absolute
missile, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Just launching his body with zero regard for his own health. Yeah. He does not care.
He does not care.
He just wants to hurt you.
Yeah, that's what you want from Mike too.
I love that dude, man. He's so much fun to watch. You're not going to be playing the Niners every week.
No,
so we'll see.
That's the thing with this Jets team is they're not playing the Niners every single week.
But you're in the NFL, though. There's a lot of talented teams.
Yeah, but you don't get the Niners every week. You don't get Kyle Shanahan.
There's a lot of talented teams.
You don't get Kyle Shanahan and him having the ball for 40 minutes every single game. Like, that's not really realistic.
That is another element as well.
And I think this might be what the Jets needed. You saw the Chiefs lose week 1 last year to the Lions, right? They won the Super Bowl that year. I'm not comparing the Jets.
Tony.
Huh?
Kadarius.
Okay, well, yeah.
Tony.
Okay, they still lost. They still lost. But I'm not comparing the Jets to the Chiefs. But I'm saying they played a good team week 1. They were never really the favorite. Remember the Chiefs last year? They didn't really look like a Super Bowl team until playoff time. Like, when it came down to it is when they locked in, when they started using Travis Kelce more, you know what I mean? I'm interested to see if this Jets team kind of regroups. They kind of take this, all right, they put Tyrod Taylor in on the last drive. We're not dealing with Rodgers anymore. We're not going to let him blow out his Achilles.
Yeah. They just want to protect him. It's valid.
It's a great move coaching-wise, but they're not playing the Niners every single week. Who do they play next week?
They play the Titans. That's the best defensive tackle duo in the NFL. They're going to blow up their run game. They are going
Titans secondary, though.
Breece Hall's going to break off one. The Titans are going to blow up that offensive line, bro.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to wait till week 3 to talk about the Jets in a good light.
I think that this looks like a 10-win team. This looks like a 9. This looks like a 9-10 win team. Like I'm not trying to like shit on them too much. Looks like a 9-10 win team. I'm shitting on them because it's Rodgers and I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious that they fed Lazard. I think it's hilarious. It's exactly what I expected Rodgers to do with this offense because they're so talented. They're everywhere on the field, but he wants to play his little chemistry ball with his receivers and not establish an identity. And there you go. Rodgers doesn't have a defense. Rodgers doesn't have a run game. Just get help for Rodgers. And it's like, okay, dude, no. He needs to sit back and let LaFleur call plays for him like he did when he won MVP twice. But he doesn't have LaFleur. He's got Nathaniel Hackett. Are they going to figure it out? I bet no.
Spoken like a true Bears fan.
I love LaFleur. I think LaFleur is a great coach.
He is.
Daniel Hackett?
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
No.
I'm with you there. And I think that wraps up
one thing about I want to talk about the Niners a little bit. Jordan Mason, I love Jordan Mason coming into the season. I feel like I was expecting him to pick up right where McCaffrey left off. Versatile back, hungry back. He's looking for something to prove in an offense that helps running backs succeed. Did it tonight. Great. I want to see if he can just get McCaffrey back. You need McCaffrey long-term in the season. He needs to be healthy. He cannot have one of these banged-up seasons. Mason's great. But Purdy didn't have a good game. Good secondary in the Jets. Probably one of the best, if not the best in the league. Great secondary. But Purdy was missing throws. He managed the game, which is what he needs to do. He's on a great team. He doesn't need to be the hero. But I do acknowledge that he had not the best game and missed some throws. Week 1, we'll see going forward, but I think they're going to be challenged when they get the run stopped, when they're going to pass the ball and just drop back. They're going to have a challenge. They're going to play the Vikings week 2, and we'll see. Vikings kind of got him last year, so we'll see if Purdy can kind of have some more composure going forward, but he looked a little rusty in week 1.
Yeah, this Vikings team, you mentioned it next week, is going to be, I think Brian Flores is going to be, hey, we're going to let Purdy beat us with his arm, and I'm going to dial out some nasty blitzes, and we're going to see if he can identify them and shift the pass blocking to that side, whatever it's coming from. Because if I'm Brian Flores, dude, I'm chomping at the bit to get after this dude, and I cannot
got
wait.
him last year.
Yeah, exactly, man. And if you lose to Brock Purdy throwing for 350 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns, you'd be like, okay, it was either that, which probably won't happen because I don't think Brock Purdy is like that when it comes to getting little happy feet when there's anyone in his face, or you can just line up 3 or 4 down and not stack the box, and the Niners will run the ball 36 times with their guys tonight. Jordan Mason had 28 carries. Debo had 8.
28, wow.
Yeah, 28 carries for a backup running back.
He's a good player. He could start for some teams.
No, I'm not degrading him at all, but that's not McCaffrey. And just think, when McCaffrey's back, that's going to be even worse. That's what I'm getting at with this.
Hopefully they rotate him a little bit when he gets back in. Trust Mason a little more.
Yeah, and that can take the load off. I think he earned that with his performance tonight, which
they need to keep McCaffrey fresh.
Yeah.
They have to keep him fresh. He's a do-it-all player for them. He is their X factor on offense. I love Debo. I love Ayuk. I love Kittle. This offense is special with McCaffrey.
Yep. I'm with you, man. We'll see how it shakes out next week, but then it's going to wrap it up.
Excited for the team preview.
Yeah, we're going to
the week 2 preview.
Week 2 preview Wednesday. We'll go over all of our predictions and all that jazz. But for now, I appreciate you guys listening in. Randy, appreciate you coming over, doing this podcast again, man.
So much fun, bro.
Yeah.
Had to clown a little bit on Alan Lazard and the Jets and that Rodgers offense, but hey,
and
got
Bryce
a new
Young.
wide receiver 1. Let's go, baby.
And Bryce Young.
Oh, and Bryce Young, man,
Yeah.
dude. Oof.
Yeah.
Panthers, let's go.
Yeah.
Give us that pick.
But guys, go follow the TikTok and Instagram. It's Let's Talk Ball _podcast. Be sure to check that out. And I appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.